Greetings, brothers and sisters. Today is December 13th, 2022. It's 10 after 8. This will be session 12 of our UNIA-ACL Division 421 Officers Training. Tonight, we'll be going over questions from Lesson 10, titled Economy, and reading Lesson 11, titled Man. First thing we want to do is our pledge to the RBG flag. So tonight's questions are from lesson 7, titled Economy. One of the things that I meant to share when we finished talking about diplomacy was the quote from Fred Hampton, because we had talked a little bit about politics and war. But I think this politics and diplomacy go hand in hand. And I like this quote. I think it applies to what Garvey was teaching in the lesson on diplomacy. But Fred Hampton says, we understood that politics is nothing but war without bloodshed, and war is nothing but politics without bloodshed. So politics is basically us doing warfare, but trying to keep people alive, not resort to bloodshed. All right. So were there any questions or comments on the previous lesson before we go into the questions? Or any questions at all?
Hey, Brother John.
Yes, sir, Brother Everett.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that again for me? I missed a little bit of that about Fred Hampton and
Fred
that
Hampton
philosophy.
said, one of his famous quotes is, politics is nothing but war without bloodshed, and war is nothing but politics without bloodshed. So relating that to our lesson on diplomacy, some of the questions that we had in regards to our response as a government to things that happen to our people, and the fact that, we're not at a position where we can do all out, war with bloodshed. So we have to rely on politics, basically. Any other questions, comments before we start? Okay. First question in the lesson titled Economy. What type of economy does this subject deal with? What type of economy does this subject deal with?
Financial.
Financial, yes. Secretary General, got it. Financial economy. That's one of the first things that Garvey says in the lesson, but I guess, let me see, there are different types of economy, but this lesson is dealing specifically with financial economy. Questions, comments on that? I thought I was gonna reword this one. I guess I didn't. Did I reword it here? Yeah, what does it mean to be on the safe side of bargains? So question 2, what does it mean to be on the safe side of a bargain?
Go ahead.
I guess never exhaust yourself, always have a reserve.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah. But I didn't, because I reworded this as I was going along and I forgot to change the answer, but yeah, we should not be exhausting ourselves in any type of bargains that we're doing. We should always, as brother said, always have a reserve. What is something that we should always have in regards to economy for our safety or security? That's the same thing, really.
15% to 20% of your income.
It's a reserve, but you getting more specific, and that'll come up later, but I probably should have erased one of these questions, but in regards to economy, we should always have a reserve. So just something in excess financially. Questions, comments? Okay, next question is the prop of life. What is the prop of life that pays for all necessities and other securities for all and offers security for all opportunities? What is the prop of life that pays for all necessities?
Money.
Honesty. The money, yes. So in this lesson, he talks about the prop of life. Does anybody remember in lesson 7, titled Character, Garvey mentioned something that was the prop for character? Anybody remember that?
Was it honesty?
Yes, sir, honesty. So, not to say that these two are related or anything like that, but I take some significance when Garvey considers something a prop for something else. So somewhat of a foundation. So Garvey considers honesty to be the foundation of good character, and money is a prop of life that pays for all necessities and offers security for all opportunities. So, but an economic prop, money. Any questions, comments on that? Okay, what percentage of our income does Garvey recommend that we save, and why? What percentage of our income should we be saving?
20%.
20%. Everybody agree with that?
15 to 20.
Yeah, I know it's a range, 15 to 20, and why? Why should we be saving 15 to 20% of our income?
For making better opportunities when it comes to providing for a rainy day.
Yes, yeah. It was something about a rainy day, but what I pulled, if you spend all you earn, you're on the edge of bankruptcy. But again, going back to reserve, being on the safe side of a bargain, and always having something just in case. What causes us to become, quote, a slave working for somebody else?
A loan.
Loan, I believe so. Anybody else want to add or expand on that? I think it is a loan, though. Or interest or something like that. The moment you pay interest on money you borrow. So I guess a loan in general doesn't make you a slave, but if there's interest tied to the loan, that would make you a slave. Any questions on that? Do I need to go to the book? No questions?
No questions, it's clear.
Okay. Let me see. Garvey says, quote, "It is bad business to go into any business without enough blank to run that business. 99 out of 100 cases will fail." So we should not go into any business without enough what to run that business?
Capital.
Capital. Why am I thinking? Yeah, capital. Okay. I would put, he said something about knowledge later on, but yes, 99 of 100 cases fail because business don't have enough capital. That was something that Garvey talked about in this lesson. Questions, comments?
Very, very, very straightforward.
Yes, yeah. But yeah, this is a very straightforward lesson. Not much left to interpretation. It's more so almost like rules, that financial rules that we should that the organization should live by. And we as leaders in the organization, it's our responsibility to make sure we do things the right way. So next question, if we are organizing an event, what percentage of profit should we expect? And then next question, if there's no profit, what are we taking? What percentage of profit should we expect from an event?
25%. Don't get it, taking a risk.
25%, is that right?
Second one is a risk.
Yeah, 25%.
I thought it was 20%, but you might be right. Okay, 25%. Yep. And if there is no profit, you are taking a risk. You are wasting time. So when we organize events, we should be trying to make a profit, at least 25% profit. Okay. I think it's very straightforward. Any questions, comments on that? I almost look at this lesson like in the Bible, the chapter of Leviticus, but just has laws. And I'm not saying that these are laws, but just how direct everything is, you know, specific quantities and things like that. So how does a president or representative of the UNIA occupy a position of eminence that calls for the greatest recognition of service rendered? It's a very important question.
To make money for the UNIA?
To make money, you are in, yes, that is where we want to be. But yeah, pretty much. Anybody got any more specifics or anything else? But yeah, it's basically make money. I gotta change the size on this. So raising money, $500, $1,000 or $10,000 is some of the things that Garvey mentioned. Okay, let me bear with me. Oh. All right, how are men and women promoted? Garvey says it's the only standard by which you can judge the ability of a man.
How much money / members you bring in?
Money / members, I like that. Anybody else? Yeah, I think record of profitability is the words. On their record must be profitable, is what Garvey says. Questions, comments? But yeah, this lesson is reminding us of our financial responsibility to the organization. We're not just here to talk and to teach, you know, and to encourage, but we should be raising funds. So we don't want to get that lost in everything else that we've discussed. When should we pay more for something if we can get it at a cheaper? When should we pay more for something if we can get it at a cheaper price? Yeah, I don't know where I was going with this.
Never.
Pretty much. Garvey says if you have money to throw away, always look around first. So that's straightforward. I don't like the size of these questions. Should have resized this stuff. In Garvey's view, what does it mean?
Great. I wanted to comment on that last question.
Okay.
You know, I found that Black people in this country often don't get goods at the same price, and can't sell them at the same price because they are paying more to purchase them. And so I think if we're supporting Black people, then that might be a time when we might pay more. We might not go for the bargain, but because we're going to support Black people.
That's valid. Well, that brings up a good point. Huh. How far do we take that as an organization? You know, is it always that way?
I know that as an organization, you know, in establishing our own trade and so forth, we reduce that problem because we're not buying products in bulk as people, we're buying products as individual people. It's not 10 people that want black soap putting all their money together to go buy that black soap. It's 10 people buying black soap from 10 individual opportunities. And same 10 people, if they knew each other and put all their money together, would not pay the same price for the black soap. If they all bought a gallon, but you know, they all bought 10 pounds a piece. You know, that's 100 pounds they can buy as 10 people with less money.
Mhm.
I want to kind of amend what I said, even though, and I'm saying that sometimes,
Mhm.
I found that often our people are selling the goods at competitive rates with everybody else. And a lot of sometimes they're even cheaper and we are not supporting them. So, you know, I'm just saying that we got to be race first, as
Yes.
Garvey says. And so I'm just adding a little caveat. Yes, generally, we don't want to throw our money away. We want
Right.
to use it to the best of the ability. But if it's promoting race first, then maybe we're not throwing it away, even if we pay a higher price.
Then we got the
I understand. From a personal level, I agree. And that's the thing I love most about this organization and being in a position of leadership, because we have to look at things two different ways. Well, we get the opportunity to look at things two different ways, one personal and one from a position. And I'm questioning it from a position standpoint, and I'm thinking more of a larger amount. So like if we were buying a building or something like that, and you know, we pay 100,000 from, if we buy it from one of our people or another building that, you know, is less money, and it may be in a better condition. Do we, as an organization, do we buy the place from a Black person just because they're Black, or do we do what's most financially responsible for the organization?
That's a good question, and I think we have to look at it individual, case by case.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree with the caveat to what Garvey said. And again, this is Garvey's text and his words, and he also says in the beginning that we have the right to disagree if other facts or things become known. So we're not bound to agree with everything that's being said. Brother Macy, you raise your hand.
Yeah, for me, I think it's kind of goes along with the next question a little bit on where is that money going afterwards. You know, if that member is a person who's in the UNIA, you know, some of that excess funds that we give him would kind of come back, or if that person is committed to the cause of the race. You know, because we have some people who are Black but not necessarily committed. So I guess on those case by cases, really seeing the relationship, and that could be a determining factor.
Yes. I'm going through the book now. See if there's more context in the book. Got the wrong page listed. Does it say 87? Page 87. I'm gonna just read. I don't know if I got the right page listed for the answer. Men and women promoted on their record. Record must be profitable. We know that. No other standard by which you can judge ability of a man. Always seek substantial value for their work. Whenever you want to sell, unless you want to meet someone who is badly in need of that thing, you always offer less. Never live above your income, never live up to your income, never. If you see a thing and get good results from it at a cheaper price, don't pay a dearer price, except you have money to throw away. So that's where it came from. If you see a thing and get good results from it at a cheaper price. So maybe my wording could have been better. Don't pay a dearer price except you have money to throw away. Well, no, I think it's still the same because the race first can still be applied. Something that we purchase from our people can be, it may be a little more expensive due to, the cost of production and bulk production, things like that. So producing things in smaller quantities usually costs more to the producer, but all right, well, I found it in the book though, so.
A lot of the things, our product packaged in the 20 for individuals. We had individual tailors, we had individual supermarkets.
Yeah.
Specialized products, and we still market based on specialized products.
Yeah.
When you get something from a permit person from Black folks, it's not as in general.
Right.
Product.
Yeah. All right, next question. In Garvey's view, what does it mean to give to God? And what are examples of not giving to God? So first, what does it mean to give to God?
Excuse me, sir, I had a question.
Go ahead.
At a Black flea market, has anybody ever seen an Asian person in there buying stuff from a Black person? I mean, I haven't.
Have we seen an Asian person buying things from a Black person at a flea market?
Yeah.
I had that experience because I saw
No,
particularly
I've never seen it.
for their
Okay.
We have one here. We got one here.
Okay. I've never seen it. I personally, I don't see a lot of Caucasian people in Black flea markets buying stuff either.
But where you going? So you going back to the race first concept?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Most definitely the race first concept, because it's not like if we don't support ourselves, then they're not rushing in to support us as a people.
Yes, sir.
As a whole. So we would more so tend to buy, even if it might cost a little bit more from, and you would do an investigation, make sure they were on the up and up. You're not just going to give the money to whoever's, but as an organization, I think that would be the best bet from a Black person, regardless.
I think. Well, go ahead, Brother Marua.
Right, race first, everyone.
Race first.
Well, that's the best. That's the best strategy and way to go for the race. Period. For us to support each other. And we're the only race of people that I know who actually come up with arguments for supporting others. And that's something that we need to look at mentally also, you know, when the Honorable Marcus Garvey talked about, you know, us being judged on our, you know, on us being profitable, you
Mhm.
know, that profit can actually be, you know, be looked at it in more than just monetarily,
Hmm.
you know, as far as the profit, you know, me spending a little extra with my own can also be profitable if Black children seeing me, you know, deliberately going out of my way to support my race. That profit pays dividends down the line, you know, where we look at, you know, buy Black first, you know, shop Black first. You know, so that's just my 2 cents, you know, in this.
Yes, sir.
When Garvey came up, black was pretty much your own choice, your only choice.
Due to segregation.
Through segregation and just general, that's why we see each other with the hookup. Because it was all of us looking out for each other.
Hmm.
So if somebody came up on it, they were letting it go for something feasible, knowing that, hey, we all in the same boat.
Yeah.
We can't make, we don't have a choice to go spend our money and buy with white folks. So, we only can get it from us if we gonna have it. Those of us who knew that white person at the store that could have a piano in the house, had to have somebody hide that piano or hide the person
Hmm.
until it got into their home. You know what I'm saying? It was a completely different economic structure. We had more money during, what did they have? That the Great Depression. We had more money because we didn't have, our money was under the couch. Our money wasn't in the bank. We
Yeah.
wasn't going anywhere, putting our money, and there wasn't a lot to put our money in. But, there was your own Black city town that you had to be in.
Yeah.
It just wasn't a choice. Buying Black was it. It wasn't advertised that you should have to go buy Black. It was known
Yeah.
that you was going to buy Black.
Gotta get back to that.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, we use these words, these terms. Segregation was actually a tool of control by the those the white folks in power.
Mhm.
Some of us actually spent our money with Black people because we didn't have a choice.
Mhm.
But some of us we were already separate. We was already separatists. We
Hmm.
were spending our money with Black people because we knew that was the way to be. You
Hmm.
know, when we throw things out like Black Wall Street and play things like that, you know, a lot of people like to take the claim, for actually Black Wall Street. But Black Wall Street, you know, and it was plenty of Black Wall Streets all over the country. Well, actually, I bet you every Black Wall Street, every community that you saw, that they was actually, practicing economic separatism. Uh, it was Garveyites,
Hmm.
who was doing this because they were raised first, not because they didn't, have a choice. We see what happened when we were allowed to have a choice. Individualism does not work for Black people. It's just that simple. We have to be more of a collective. If we're not working on a collective or within a collective mind state, an African state of mind, we would, we would do like the Negro Baseball League.
Hmm.
Integration was crazy. The last African economic institution that we had in this country went out when Jackie Robinson joined the major leagues, because the Negro Baseball League had teams, they had stadiums, they had all of the vendors. But as soon as Jackie Robinson went to the major league, then all of a sudden you know, everything left, you know. So when you look at it, you know, you look at the, you know, when you look at us, you know, being separatists, not integrationists, practicing separatism, not segregation either, you know, but actually separatism, then we tend to do better as a race.
Yes, sir. Ashay,
Also here, our ability to produce, whether it be
can y'all hear the brother?
Barely, we could
Barely.
barely hear you.
Come closer.
Okay, raise first everyone, Brother Julie. And I was sharing from the conversation, the necessity of us having factories to produce, whether it be our own cars, whether it be us being able to produce our homes, us being able to produce those things to build a community, where especially, you know, in certain times in this land, we didn't always have the means to be able to produce, to build, it's when in terms of transportation and in terms of truly being able to compete with some of the other factories that had more resources to they could offer a better price point.
But I think one of the big things as we go through the questions, financial responsibility. I think that's what Garvey is trying to remind us of. We should not be, we should be disciplined basically when it comes to spending our funds and knowing the priorities on how we spend our funds. So race first is always a part of that. But we shouldn't be going broke, you know, just to support our own people.
May I say something?
Go ahead, Chaplain Mitchell.
Yeah, I was going to say that all of the inputs that everyone gave is definitely right on point, but I think President John said something that was very essential, the word discipline. We must have a disciplined mindset and practice self-awareness when it comes to economics.
For sure.
Because this is a very simple thing. This is very elementary. It's something that's very fundamental, but yet we as a people of African descent, we tend to fall short of this. I don't know why it's so hard for us. I don't know if it's due to slavery or, you know, past slavery trauma, mental health issues, but we, for some reason, just cannot mentally snap out of it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, financial responsibility. That's what we should be thinking about as we're going through this lesson. But I want to continue the questions. It's almost 8:50. We still got to get to reading for lesson 9, and I still got a couple more questions on another slide. Next question, in Garvey's view, what does it mean to give to God? And what are examples of giving to God?
I don't know if I got this right, but I know he was saying if you're going to give to God, make sure God's going to receive it. Like, don't be conned by giving to God and you know, somebody's going to misuse the money. But I'm not sure if that's what you're looking for.
That sounds pretty good. Anybody want to add?
Yes, sir. I wanted to add, it says, never give your money away outside of your race. If you are called upon to give to God, ask yourself if God is really going to get it. Only when you feel that it's going into a channel that God will really appreciate himself should you give it, because God himself doesn't want your money.
Right.
All right. So he does, Mr. Garvey does go back and then says, don't give money outside of your race. He states that. So like, you know, we shouldn't go broke. It's from what I'm reading personally. We shouldn't go broke, but at the same time, we should do every effort we can possibly do to buy within our race.
Mm.
And I don't think that's racism. I think that's economic survival. We can't survive without money. And if we keep giving money outside of our race, we will not survive another 20, 30 years if we continue down this road. Just my personal opinion.
Noted. Go ahead.
I would definitely agree, because if you look at the Asian community, I take for example the Korean community, they buy within their community only. They don't buy outside. It's very rare. Japanese, they do the same thing. The Chinese, they do the same thing. So you're right. If we're going to survive, we must buy within our race.
I think it's real important to add to all that. You know, it's important for us to not only buy but create too, because most of these people are able to buy because they have all the things that they need within their community. So as we focus on positioning ourselves to be producers, then we can consume from our own self.
Yes.
Are we gonna look also at the fact that most of those other cultures have a country to rely on the economic and manufacturing process from?
Did y'all hear the brother?
Yes.
Yeah, I heard it. I heard it.
I mean, if you're from Florida and you're Black, who are you going to go to for manufacturing or send your money? Depending on the product that you want to buy, you grew up in America. You want American products, you're going to buy American products. If you practice Africanism and you want African products, what are African products that you know to purchase and use regularly on your day-to-day life that Africa is shipping to America to be sold? This is the case where you have China, Korea, or most other countries where they ship things that America wants and will buy. You know, Chinese folks say, hey, American people are buying little radios, make the smallest radio you can, and they're gonna buy them. And manufacture them in that country and send all that money back. Where am I sending my money back to? What country am I investing in to receive the products that I need for my culture to expand and grow? I mean, do I practice an African diet? Am I purchasing my food from Africa so Africa has a demand to ship these things here so that we purchase those things regularly? Or am I purchasing American food every day because I've been here 500 years? So let's just say, you know, it's a different dynamic as to what we face as people here and where we look for those things that we want to need. In America, we have created the things that we want to need. We're responsible for making entertainment, culture, food, products, all of those things we've made here in America.
Mm-hmm.
As we're talking about us living here in America, but when we talk about what's outside of our country of America and what products we want to purchase out of there, you know, it's a handful of things. Today, what do I know I get from Africa? Coffee. I know I get soap. I know I get shea butter. I know I get clothes. However, I don't know of an African car, although I know they make them, but they're not exported to America because of the demand. How about food? A lot of food comes from Japan and China into California. And the Japanese and foreign people, they go to the docks and they buy all of that stuff up. for their own restaurants, you know, all the chickens and all that other stuff, they buy all that stuff from themselves, from their country.
Mhm.
You know, when we decide to go to our country in Africa and let them know that we need these things mass produced and shipped to America so that we can send our money there and support those cultures and so forth, do I think we would even have a chance at indicating and or doing things like that? It's just a completely different dynamic in which we're here on.
That's a very complex proposition that you putting out there. It's not a simple answer to it.
Yeah, I believe, you know, when the brothers talked about food, getting food from Africa, I believe, well, no, don't even let me start there. But Africa probably could sell the whole world rice.
I mean,
And the Chinese are actually in Africa. I don't know how much Chinese rice is actually African rice. But the question becomes, are the Africans and the African countries and African people actually benefiting from it? And I would probably say no.
yeah, well, I mean, I think when it comes to food, we've got a great example out of New York with Rock. They've been able to work together, bring their funds together to have a market that can import food on a mass scale so that it can be sold on a competitive level compared to what we could get, you know, at Walmart or whatever that may be. So there's a different situation for the rest of us, though. Unless you have that type of organization that's, you know, transporting goods on a mass scale on a continuous basis, I would say that Garvey is telling us in this lesson to, again, be economical. You know, if we're gonna pay, you know, $10 for a cabbage from a African versus $2, you know, at Walmart, which one are we really, you know, which one should we really be doing? And where I'm going is, until we get to the point where, you know, we can make it somewhat competitive to where we're bringing in enough to where, okay, the African cabbage is $3 and, you know, Walmart cabbage is $2. It's not that much of a difference. So if everybody follows what I'm saying. But we have to get to that mass level to make the purchase is profitable. And another thing, you know, to what Baba James was saying in regards to Japan, that goes into diplomacy, you know, and the relationships that the United States has with other nations. So if the United States doesn't have a good diplomatic relationship with Morocco, you know, then we won't, you know, they won't allow them to bring anything. But you get what I'm saying. Ghana, you know, Ivory Coast, Guinea, it's all dependent upon their relationship with the United States as well. So it's not just us saying, hey, I want to buy some kente cloth directly from the continent and establish, you know, trade routes. We still have to, there has to be a cordial relationship between the United States and that country.
So we basically along for the ride with the United States government. If they like something, then we can have it. If they don't like something, we can't have it.
Right. Yeah, during the Cuban embargo, well, you know, even no matter how much we wanted to support, we can't, you know, but that's the diplomacy part of it.
I think that also uplifts this idea of government, that we know, okay, the vision in Atlanta and the vision in Africa. All right.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what we're trying to do. Like we're trying to create a society, and I think it's a good and a bad thing that we don't have a national home border or focus point, because our home is, as the Constitution says, where all of our people are. So it's almost as if you've got satellites, all over the world, and the point of the government is to unite these satellites politically, economically, so that, if we did want to influence the relationship that the United States had with an African country, the UNIA here in the United States can make that claim, and make sure that relationship is established. But that's up to us. So.
And it's real about that friendship amongst nations, so that, okay, well, yeah, we have friends. I think that's another aspect of the brilliance of what God being the UNIA is us being able to do for ourselves, and show support. So like if Haiti needs help, boom.
Right. Yeah. It shouldn't be a, what can we do? And we donating to UNICEF, so that they can go to the continent or the country and help. We should have a direct, diplomatic relationship with the United States, as well as the lands where our people are. And so, and from a Haiti standpoint, we should have a UNIA in Haiti as well, to help establish these relationships. So I just think, Garveyism is about changing the mindset of our people everywhere we are, so that no matter where we are, we still have some form of connection, and we can support each other. All right, y'all. Next question. We gotta get it moving. What does Garvey say about buying a new suit? What did Garvey say when he's talking about buying a new suit? But again, financial responsibility. That's one of the things I take away from this.
It says, if nothing is wrong with your suit or clothes, don't buy a new one because someone else has done so. I don't think I understood that correctly.
You say you don't think you understood that?
Well, it says don't follow fashion for fashion's sake.
Yes.
Right. So basically, don't just buy stuff to be buying stuff.
Pretty much.
Okay.
What I got in here: if nothing is wrong with your suit of clothes, don't buy a new one. All it may need is attention, and so with everything. So whether it's cars or, maintenance, some new tires, some new brakes, take care of your car, wash your car inside out. Maintenance, so before you buy something new. You may badly need the money later. When trouble comes, you can run with your money, but you will not be able to carry all the things. So just being financially responsible. Don't buy things just because you really want to, or as they used to say, keeping up with the Joneses. We have to be financially responsible, and if we are going to do any excess, it should be charitable.
Wasn't that I'm sorry, Brother John, in leadership, the leadership lesson when he talking about this, if you even have the same suit on over and over again, they say he has the same suit on, but he still looks sharp in that suit. So I kind of put them two together a little bit.
Yep.
That you don't need it, just make sure you look good in it.
Right. He was talking about, at that time, he was talking about being clean, but again, maintenance, so you may only have one suit, but it's better to have one be clean and presentable every time people see you, rather than to, have different clothes, even new clothes, but you're not taking care of your hygiene and you're not taking care of your clothes. So excellent point, Brother Everett. Questions, comments? All right.
And especially today, like with our youth today, that cleanliness and being presentable and looking intentional, I think that's a whole another aspect of that uplift of our race.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. Next question. If we have ambitions to be great, but we do not have the means immediately, we don't have the means to immediately do so, what does Garvey recommend that we practice? If we want to be great, but we don't have the means to be great immediately, what should we practice? What's that? Work with what you got. I like that. Yes. Anybody else? Work with
I
what
think
you
it's,
got. Go
I
ahead.
want to say something about rigid thrift or something.
Yep.
Like, yeah, I think that's what it was.
But Garvey says you should practice rigid thrift by saving as much as you can so that you will be able to change your position, so that you will be able to change your position to reach your objective. So rigid thrift, save as much as you can, work with what you got, you know, but we all have, I would think we all have ambitions to be great. Most of us are not where we need to be financially to achieve that greatness. So Garvey recommends us to practice rigid thrift, save as much as we can, work with what you got, and stack the money over time. Questions, comments? Next question. In order to make a profit in business, what must we do before we get into that business? You want to make a profit in business, what do you need to do before you get into the business?
You need to learn as much as you can about that business.
Yes, sir. Know your business, never get into any business that you know nothing about. Make this a little bit larger. Sorry, apologize. So yeah, know your business, never go into any business that you know nothing about. For me, a couple things that jumped out in my head were the Black Star Line and the Negro World newspaper. The Black Star Line was not where Garvey had the most knowledge. He depended upon others. That's where he was sabotaged and things like that. But then when you compare that to the success of the Negro World, and that was pretty much Garvey's wheelhouse, editor of a newspaper at a very young age. So and the power of his propaganda and the effectiveness of his propaganda at that time. But I think for me, looking back, those are two good examples of that Garvey had, of where he had a lot of knowledge and he didn't have as much knowledge. Questions, comments on that? In order to make a profit in a business, we must know our business. Never go into any business that you know nothing about. So if we want to go into business, we want to do something, we should have experts and we should be, studying and learning about that business. Garvey, you talking about Garvey? I don't remember much of him personally, Yeah, but the engineering of the ships, next question. What is the difference between the profit of a business and the capital of a business? What's the difference between the profit of a business and the capital of a business? Where my business people at?
It's, capital would be like value of assets, like, that a company has, and property is what's made for what's being sold.
In a sense, yeah. Anybody else?
Yeah, I was gonna say close to what he said. A profit is kind of like what the business makes, and capital is what the business is really worth as far as its assets. So yeah, I think yeah, close to that. That's what I would say.
I believe Garvey says capital. Oh wait, no, this is not even in. This is not a Garvey or message to the people question. This is a question. It's not in the book basically, but it was something that I felt was important based on the verbiage in the text. And again, Garvey, he tells us in the first lessons to make sure we understand everything that we read and don't go past something if you don't understand it, and don't be afraid to look things up. But capital was, when I looked it up, it's the initial sum invested. It's the money used to make more money. And then profit is the total revenue minus what was invested. Capital, money used to make more money, and profit is total revenue minus the money invested. Okay. Couple more questions and then we'll do the reading. Yeah, just 4 more questions. Why must we live on the profit of a business and not on the capital of the business? Why must we live on the profit of a business and not the capital of the business?
So you can increase your principal.
Increase your principal.
You will increase your money if you don't take away from your essential. If you don't take away from your essential investment.
Increase your money if you don't take away from your essential investment.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I think he said I'm sorry, I think he said if you eventually you live off your capital, there'd be no capital left. I think that was what Garvey said in the book.
Yes. Anybody else want to add? He says the time may come where you have to live on the capital because you made no profit for that period. So yeah, as Brother Everett was saying, and as we said in the beginning, you should always have a reserve, an emergency fund. So the capital, if you have a capital in the business, that's basically your emergency reserve fund. You should always be trying to live and maintain off of the profit, because once you start dipping into the capital, you may not have enough money to run the business to make any profit. Questions, comments? Okay, but yeah, just something to keep in mind as we talk about business and events and things like that. So why does Garvey recommend we keep a good relationship with the government? Why is it important to keep it? And why is it important to keep it? Trade. How does Garvey recommend we keep a good relationship with the government? He said trade.
We didn't look like we were radical and fighting the government. I've noticed that.
Don't look like a radical fighting the government. Yes, he told us not to riot.
And it says, always watch, because the government can easily outlaw your organization and curtail or prevent your activities.
Yes, that's why that's why it's important to keep a good relationship with the government. All right, but Brother Bruce is on it. Garvey says, take immediate steps to counteract statements of prejudice and reassure the government that you have no intention of doing anything not in keeping with the law. So we are law-abiding citizens. If there's anything produced that suggests that the UNIA is not law abiding, we should take immediate steps to counteract that propaganda. We should not join any movement that the government is not favorably inclined to tolerate, chiefly communism. This is what Garvey says.
Oh, yeah, forgot that part.
Because the government can easily outlaw your organization and curtail or prevent your activities. Never let the government put you on the defensive. It will create prejudice against you. Again, going back to diplomacy, we must maintain good relationships, and Garvey lays it out plain and clear in regards to what the consequences are. Questions, comments?
Yes, sir. In reading recently some books from the time when Mr. Garvey had the Black Star Liner and different things like that, it seemed like the Caucasian folks, they would label certain groups communist to spread that word around their community that these people are communists. And that's what they did. They still do that to today. I hear them all the time saying, "Oh, y'all just communists," and stuff like that. They'll label somebody as a communist when they don't agree with them. Yeah. And here it is, Mr. Garvey is saying, stay away from communists. Yes. But that's what they do. They'll label you as a communist and try to get everybody on against you.
The new label, as everybody is aware of, is anti-Semitic. So we have to be thankful. Because when I looked up, you can look on the Anti-Defamation League, and I forgot the other one. There's another one that talks about organizations that are not favorable with the government, but
the JDL, Jewish Defense League.
The Jewish Defense League. Oh, well, yes, but the UNIA has never been on that list. Other groups such as the Nation of Islam, unfortunately, have been on the list. New Black Panther Party, but many other groups and Black organizations, unfortunately, have been labeled as anti-Semitic, and that puts an automatic target on them in regards to the government and their attention. But it's something that we have to work to avoid. Go ahead.
The FBI just raided a Pan-African organization, I believe, called the African People's Socialist Party. I was thinking of the lessons when they did that, because they were like saying Russia was right about stuff and stuff like that. Like Marcus Garvey said, that shut you down if you show that you're affiliated with them, and they shut them down. Like they raided the office and shut them down.
Yes, sir. Yeah, once we are labeled as a threat, it's almost like a body and an immune system. Once your body identifies something that's not, that's foreign, basically, it sends things to attack it and to shut it down. So we have to try to avoid these labels. All right.
Sir, I believe more so the African American, due to our history and everything, we have to walk on a line that's revolutionary. At the same time, we have to be cognizant that we are surrounded by people that pretend to be your friend, or they look nice, they might be kind to some extent, but there's still, a lot of them are still racist. I'll just put it that way, they're racist. So I believe that really applies to here in the United States, because we got a lot of sneaky folks in our midst, a lot.
Good point, Brother Bruce, and that touches on something that Garvey told us earlier in the lessons when it came down to who to talk to about the UNIA and what we're doing. He said, make sure that the people that we speak to are sympathetic to our cause, because if they're not, you get things like this, and they try to undo the good work. All right, I need to proceed. We got 3 more questions. It's almost 9:20. Brother Mason, you're going to have to read fast if you but next question. Why does Garvey say that we should settle our disputes without going to the law? Why does Garvey say we should settle our disputes without going to the law?
Court is expensive.
Court is expensive. That's one. That's another one.
Don't have them folk in our business.
Don't have them folk in our business. Pretty much. He kind of, yeah. Anybody want to elaborate on that? Pretty much right with that.
Telling the white power structure what your ailments are and what your problems are, and asking them to solve your problems is not the way to go.
Yes, bad reputation, pretty much.
Yeah, that's one of the worst reputations you can have in this day, is to be known as a snitch.
Yeah, but we should have our own systems of government and systems of law. So we should not be going to the dominant society for legal issues within our organization.
I mean,
Well,
can you see us talking about race first and calling the police on someone who you know, did some type of petty crime, and you start talking about, you know, you for the people, and you actually call it, you know, I mean, because when you actually go to the law, you know, in our society today, you know, that's one of the worst things you can actually do to a person is actually give them to that particular enemy.
Yes, sir. But Garvey says law is expensive and uncertain. You establish a bad record and you can easily be searched in the court records. Also causes the government to think badly of the race. We should not be settling our disputes going to the law. What type of things should we make the government aware of? Why should governments know us? And what should we be known for? That's all one question. What type of things should we make the government aware of? Why should governments know us? What should we be known for? Come on, y'all. What should we be known for? This is
Humanitarian work.
Humanitarian work, yes. Anybody else?
I was gonna say good works.
Good works. I think charities for some reason comes in here. Okay. Social service work, charitable, educational, public education tending towards good citizenship. But these are some of the things that Garvey listed that we should be doing on a regular basis anyway. And when it comes to diplomacy, this is what the organization should be known for. If anybody asks, you know, a prominent person within the United States government, you know, what do you know about the UNIA? It should be charity, education, the things that we're doing for our communities. Questions, comments?
I can continue to see how Garvey learned from, built off of the Booker T. Washington model.
Yes, sir. Yeah. That's I mean, you know, Booker T. Washington up from slavery. Garvey, we all should know, you know, that Garvey took that as his calling to be a race leader. So Booker T. Washington is a big inspiration for Marcus Garvey. All right, last question. What information does Garvey say that we should keep, quote, private like the Jews? What information should we keep private like the Jews?
Racial education.
Racial education, absolutely. And we talked about that earlier. Or a responsibility. We've talked about it a couple times, actually, in different lessons, but a responsibility for us to have a dual education. The education that they give us, and we should know their systems and how they work, but we should also be getting an education specifically for our own people. And the words that they use in the beginning is Afrocentric, but a fierce. One of the things that Garvey said this course is supposed to do is instill a fierce Afrocentric perspective, void of anything that would diminish the Negro, I believe is where the quote was going. But we have a responsibility to have a dual education and a private education. Questions, comments before we get into the reading?
Yeah, I had an opportunity to work in a Jewish synagogue in the DC area. And yeah, they have elementary school, they have church all there. And that's something that we need to really establish is our own school system. Starting off at kindergarten and not having our children go to these public schools, which sometimes are underfunded and don't teach history the way that it should be taught. So they teach those guys history from the beginning, mixed in with religion. I literally helped. I cleaned up in the basement and cleaned up in the classrooms and mopped the floors and did all sorts of stuff in their synagogue. And I tell you, they teach those kids exactly about everything from day one. So that's what we should be doing.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up. And that's something that I've taken from this course. But even in the introduction, from the introduction, we've talked about the Jews and how Garvey had a dual perspective on the Jews. In one sense, he respected them for their unity and their ability to work together, but he resented them for the power and power and influence that they had over our people. But I do think that Garvey was trying to do a similar thing that the Jews, the Jews basically come together, they have their own culture, have their own education, and Garvey, thought to himself, why can't Black people, why can't we as a race, have that same concept to where we respect each other and support each other almost religiously, so you see a lot of comparisons between what Jews do and how Jews do things and how Garvey recommends we do things.
Yeah, I mean, and you got to think about it, this was before Israel. Garvey was talking these things. This was before the country of Israel was established. And what Garvey tried to do in 1918 with the colony in Liberia was if Liberia would have if he could have did what he wanted to do in Liberia would have been what Israel is to the Jews.
I ain't even think about that, man. Goodness gracious. So yeah, but that's crazy because now we talk about Garvey and Garveyites, and we, where's our homeland, and that kind of deters some people. But I've always had the mindset of, when did Israel become a nation? And technically Israel became a nation when Israel was born. So it's the idea, it's the concepts that bring the people together that forms a nation, not necessarily the geographical boundaries. But brother Everett, were you gonna say something? But yeah, that's powerful, brother Marua. Excellent, man.
Yeah, I was just co-signing it. That was a powerful statement he said. I never even thought of it that way. Yeah.
Right. So when we look at a lot of you look at the Europeans, and you say, Garvey said what man has done, man can do. The Europeans, they're greats from Hitler, Mussolini, and all of them. They actually studied what Garvey was teaching. They studied Garvey, and Israel, I don't have any proof all of this, but I believe Israel probably, decided to do what they did in Israel. The Europeans decided to build that country for the Jews, looking basically at what Garvey was saying. Africa for the Africans, those at home and those abroad. I mean, look at Israel, and what he was trying to do and what they prevented him from doing with Liberia. That to me is one of the biggest disappointments, of studying the UNIA and Garveyism, Liberia not coming to fruition that Garvey had planned, so.
Right, man. That's a whole nother level. Like, what if, Thank you, Brother Marua. It's 9:30. We're gonna run a little late today, obviously. But these are very important lessons. I struggle to try to figure out which is the most important lesson. But as we just went through economy and took our time, hopefully we understand the importance of what Garvey is trying to communicate here. And this next lesson, man, is also a extremely important lesson. As we go through the lesson on man, one thing I want people to remember is one of the things that we talked about on the social system. So I'm gonna run back to this question, then we'll jump into the lesson on man's social system. So first question is, what is a society and what is its purpose? But a society, this was lesson 8, a society is an organization of mankind. And I kind of just want to stop there, but to safeguard, protect its own interests. But a society is an organization of men and women. So as we read this lesson on man, I want us to think about the problems that we have with society, the imperfections that we have in society, and understand that society is just a collection of men and women. Brother Macias, will you be able to read this evening?
Yes.
Thank you, Brother Macias. You have the floor.
All right. Lesson 11, man. Man, because of his sin, which caused him to have fallen from his high state of spiritual cleanliness to the level of a creature who acts only for his own satisfaction by the gift of free will, must be regarded as a dangerous creature of life. When he wants to, he can be good, otherwise he is generally bad. In dealing with him, you must calculate for his vices and his damnable evils. He is apt to disappoint you at any time. Therefore, you cannot wholly rely on him as an individual. Always try to touch him with the hope of bringing out that which is good, but be ever on your guard to experience the worst that is in him, because he is always in conflict with himself as between good and evil. When he can profit from evil, he will do it and forget goodness. This has been his behavior ever since the first record of his existence. That's his first contact with his fellows. Cain slew Abel for his success. Jacob robbed Esau of his birthright, and down through the ages of human history, man has been robbing, exploiting, and murdering man for gain. Therefore, do not completely trust him, but watch him. When he is good, try to keep him good, although he may not always remain good. If he is bad, avoid him. If you have no business with him to the extent of being too much in his company, always try to reform him and use good influence on him, because the hope of life is to produce a better man. The passion of man is in evidence everywhere. It revolts against affection, kindness, and even love when it has a personal object to attain. We have heard and read of children murdering their parents for gain and parents murdering their children in a similar manner. We have heard of wives killing their husbands and husbands killing their wives for gain. This reveals how wicked man can be. When we discuss man, we discuss the creature, not the particular individual whom we know, love, and can trust. Man, therefore, is the abstract creature who is vile until we know him personally. Seek first to know him before you completely trust him, because you are apt to be disappointed. A man shakes your hand today, and tomorrow he's a chief witness against you for your execution. What is it that has caused him to do that? It is his vileness. Know it then that he is vile, and only when you know him sufficiently may you trust him as far as your judgment would dictate. He is apt to change on you, and probably at the psychological moment when you need his help most. Therefore, in dealing with man, trust your own character and your own judgment more than depending absolutely on his. For most of the time, his advice to you is wrong and calculatingly so as to put you at disadvantage. Hear everything from man, but do not believe everything until you have tested it for yourself. The history of the world shows that man has been the chief murderer or killer. He has killed more creatures than any other being. He plans his murders, which he may execute on individuals or on large groups of men, and he generally does this for profit, national profit, racial profit, political profit, or economic profit. He is so vile that he no longer depends upon his physical strength to execute his vileness or to defend himself. He manufactures the most deadly weapons to do the deed quickly while seeking self-protection from a similar attack. Therefore, contemplate the state of his mind. Contemplate that he would calmly, coolly, and collectively invent an instrument or chemical purposely designed to kill his fellows at a point where they may not harm him to gain the property and possessions of his fellows. Can anything be more diabolical? No other animal sinks this low, murderous level. Hence, man must be stripped of his veneer to see the evil machinations of his mind. The mind that makes TNT, high explosives, the mind that makes mustard gas, the mind that invents the Krupp gun, the Winchester rifle, the fast-proof caliber pistol and poisons, all calculated to kill his brother. Do you want anything more wicked? No, now can you realize how bad man is? If you do, then always be on guard, because you know not when the evil genius cometh. To be forewarned is to be forearmed. Therefore, know your man so that even though he comes with a smile, find out what is behind the smile. It is only a foolish man who accepts another at his word without finding out something about him. Never fall in love at first sight and marry at the first opportunity. Never promise everything at the first request until you know the person is worthy of your promise. If you prize your own good fortune, never pledge it on the first approach of any man, but follow him and investigate him. And when his conduct coincides with what he states and what he promises, you may take the chance of trusting him just so far. As proof of this, there are more unhappy marriages than happy ones. Although based upon the best of promises at the start, there are more unhappy relationships between men than happy relationships, simply because the evil mind of man cannot keep good always. It is generally evil. This gives you sufficient evidence that man is vile and only in remote instances good. If you know it, then why take the chance of always believing before seeing? The taste of the pudding is the proof of it. Know your man before you believe. Never believe before you know. Always let your mission be to make man good. Therefore, talk to men always from the loftiest pinnacle. You may convert somebody. You may turn a vile man good. And if you succeed in doing this in even one instance, you have accomplished a great work. Leadership in good character must make sacrifice to raise man from the lowest depths, but it is blind foolishness to sacrifice more than necessary. Therefore, redeem the man with the least amount of harm to yourself. Education. The present system of education is calculated to subjugate the majority and elevate the minority. The system was devised and has been promulgated by agents of the minority. This system was carefully thought out by those who desired to control others for their benefit and to the disadvantage of the others, to the extent that the others would not immediately rise into happiness and enjoyment of life simultaneously and equally with them. It was never originally intended to make all the people equal at the same time. Even more so, was it not intended to elevate the darker races to the immediate standard of the white races. The minorities sprung from the white races to establish the system of education. Therefore, all textbooks and general literature are colored to suit the particular interest of those who establish the system of education and the group they represent as against the interest of others whom they did not want to immediately elevate to their standard. There is always a limited process in the education of other races by the race that originates the system of education. As for instance, if a Negro attends a university with other students of the race that originated or projects the educational system, while the Negro would have the privilege of the classroom for general instructions to learn commonly, he may not have the privilege of his fellow students of the other race who may be admitted to certain clubs, fraternities within the university from which he would be debarred. Such fraternities generally enjoy the privilege of special instructions and special discussions, which convey a wider range of enlightenment to the subjects taught than would be possible to the Negro. Hence, when he graduates, even from the same textbook, his technical knowledge is not as wide as that of others who have had fuller explanation in the technical interpretation of the particular textbooks, and at the same time is only trained to reflect the system that props the intentions of the creators of the system. So that at his best, he who is making use of his education is a slave to a system that was not intended for him, but to which he renders service. Therefore, it is necessary for the Negro to be additionally educated or re-educated after he has imbibed the present system of education. The best way to do this is to educate him racially in the home, meeting hall, or his own club, where he will be put under the closest scrutiny and analysis of what appears to be education as coming from other people, because their system of education may not completely fit to the Negro's idea of his own preservation. By not being able to do this in the past, educated Negroes have not been able to assume proper leadership of their race because their education was of the nature to cause them to support the present system, which is of no advantage to the Negro, except as a servant, serf, and slave, for which purpose really the system was devised to a certain extent. This explains the behavior of leading Negro intellectuals who are not able to dissect the educational system of others and use only that portion that would be helpful to the Negro race and add to it for a complete curriculum that would be satisfactory as complete education for the race. Do not swallow wholly the educational system of any other group, except you have perfectly analyzed it and found it practical and useful to your group. There is still room for a Negro educational system, free from the prejudice that the present educational system upholds against him. Never fail to impress upon the Negro that he is never thoroughly educated until he has imbibed racial education. It is by education that we become prepared for our duties and responsibilities in life. If one is badly educated, he must naturally fail in the proper assumption and practice of his duties and responsibilities. The Negro fails in the proper assumption of his duties and responsibilities because he has been badly educated. He has universally failed to measure up to his duties and responsibilities as a man and as a race. His education has been subversive. He must now make his education practical and real. Hence, he must rearrange everything that affects him in his education to be of assistance to him in reaching out to his responsibilities and duties. As you shouldn't expect another man to give you the clothing that you need to cover your own body, so you should not expect another race to give you the education to challenge their right to monopoly and mastery, to take for yourself that which they also want for themselves. If you are going to disrupt the other man in his honesty because you know him to be disobedient, dishonest, then you must maintain the attitude in every respect. For if he is dishonest in one, he may be dishonest in all. If he will rob you of your wages, he will also rob you of your education that will enable you to know that he is robbing you of your wages. Trust only yourself and those you know, and those who look like you. Those who look like you and are related to you ought to be known first before you know others. There may be good grounds for a common education of all groups in the community, such as civic education, political and social education. But this detailed education that teaches men how to live to the highest and enjoy the best is particular education, and the particular education is always reserved for those who want to gain an advantage. Therefore, if in no other way in particular, secure education and have your own, such as the Jews, who have outside of any common education, a particular and peculiar education of their own, which augments or adds to our or modifies the common education that they have gathered in the community with others. By view of the fact that the Jews get a dual education of the state and the education of his race, he is always in a unique position to worsen or to better his compatriots of another race in the community. He is always making more out of everything than the Gentile because he knows all about the Gentile, while the Gentile knows nothing about him. Lesson 11, man.
Thank you, Brother Macius. Excellent job. That completes lesson 11 titled Man. We are 10 minutes past our closing time. I'm going to run through the attendance really quick, but I'm going to save my comments for next week. So if anybody had anything that they wanted to share, the floor is open.
Brother John, I just want to say congratulations on being commissioned. I just saw Sister Brenda's email. I know you're going to do a great job, my brother.
Thank you, Brother Everett. I didn't even know about that myself, but yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Brother John, that was one of the reasons that I wanted to make sure that I got on this. I've been planning to get here for the past 11 weeks. But I wanted to come on and I wanted to actually congratulate you on you getting appointed to this lofty position in this great association. I don't think there is nobody who I can think of at this point in time who is more deserving and more needed as far as Commissioner of District 5. I'm looking forward to working with you, my brother. Looking forward to helping to build what Garvey say we need, money and members. And I believe that's I'm looking forward to working with you to get money and members for the great association and to lead our race into where it needs to be. I really enjoyed the going over these 2 lessons. Every time I read these lessons, it's like, Garvey say some things that I'm like, wow, I didn't believe. Did you just hear what he just said? Yeah. So thank you, brother. I'm glad to be on your team in this game that we're playing for the redemption and liberation of our people. Thank you, brother, and looking forward to continuing to work with you. I guess that means that we on another that's more meetings that I'll be involved with you on, which is great. Which is great.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. I look forward to it. Yeah, we've been talking about it. You and I have talked about it, spoke with President General about it, been talking with our division about it as well. So I am, as prepared as I can be, and I look forward to serving as a commissioner for District 5. So thank you.
Best president unite. Best president unite. No bias. No best president unite.
Little bases, I appreciate it.
Sounds good, Brother Macy's.
What you say, Commissioner Macy's?
Oh, well, I said something. What?
I understood him. Well, Brother John, they stole my thunder. I was going to announce it.
Yeah, well, thank
Oh,
you.
my bad, Secretary General.
Yeah, Brother Evans, you know, Brother Evans, he always been the smart kid in the room.
I know.
I mean, he's always been a smart kid
That's
in the
messed
room.
up.
No, you didn't
Yes,
mess up. I thank you. I thank you. Yeah, and I think you'll do a great job too, Brother John. So the letter went to you and the HEC, but a memo just went out. I was working on it. And it went to the division presidents.
Okay.
And I didn't include the secretaries. I probably should have, but division presidents can decide how to share the information. So
Okay, we look forward to it, and thank you again.
you didn't send that to the secretaries?
I did not. But I could do it for our division if you want me to.
I mean,
Well, the secretary is off.
We got our secretary. We got our secretary on.
But yes,
Yeah,
9:50, brothers and sisters. I don't want to hold everybody too long. Does the attendance? Does everybody see their attendance? And got everybody? Oh wait, let me go to the right.
Who is Sister Yvette? She got another name that I know.
That's
I got the TV on.
head matron. Black Cross nursing. She's our future lady president, Sister Brenda.
Sister Yvette is 106.
Yes.
Yvette Williams.
What's her last name, brother or sister?
William or Williams?
Williams.
Williams.
Okay.
106. All right, so
I think we need a what district are you in, brother Everest?
do you know?
No, I don't. I was just about to ask you, could we or you and Sister Brenda, could we send out a updated version of the districts? I do have it though, but I don't know it offhand. It's in my computer from orientation. But
District 3.
I can't remember. I'm District 3.
Okay. He's in District 3. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We need a commissioner in District 3 over there. Y'all doing a lot of work. We need a commissioner to actually.
So that's us and DC in District 3, right?
I'm trying to pull it up.
District, yeah. UNDC, Virginia, and West Virginia.
District 3. Okay.
Virginia and West Virginia. Ooh, it's plenty of Africans out there. So yeah, we need some more divisions.
I'm in Virginia, and I cover Virginia, DC, and Maryland. So.
And who is this?
That's our chaplain. Chaplain
Chaplain.
Mitchell. He's the chaplain Mitchell. 421.
Oh, okay.
What part of Virginia you in, Chaplain Mitchell?
I'm in Alexandria, Virginia, which is 10 minutes from DC. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we can hook up then. Oh yeah, that might be something we can look into, Brother Marua.
Yes, sir. We need to look into it. Virginia, for sure. We need to be in Virginia, for sure. So, what you laughing for, Brother John?
No, because Chaplain Mitchell had been talking to me about that, so I'm just happy to hear that he's hearing support, from other divisions that we need to establish a division in Virginia.
Yeah, Chaplain Chaplain
Mitchell.
I'm sorry, Mitchell. Yeah, Chaplain Mitchell. I'm the Commissioner General of the
Okay.
UNIA. Can I ask you to help us get 6, 7 members? And we got some. You right there with DC and Baltimore. And we got Philly out there too, but you know, it's a different district. But 6, 7 members, and maybe, you know, we can actually speak to them and see if we can get them to join the UNIA.
Yeah, sure.
And the commissioner for Philadelphia is on.
Yeah,
Right,
we'll pull
right.
up. We'll pull up
Right.
quick.
I just assumed that, you know, Brother Macius, you know, he's a traveler anyway. So we can, you know, him and Brother Everett and Brother John, you know, we. I just got a vision of great things, you all. So we writing a new history of the UNIA. So,
Yes, sir.
you know, we just want people to show up and commit, you know, commit to your race. So, okay, we'll be talking to you, Chaplain.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, I mean, the good thing about it is that Chaplain Mitchell is under the best president in the UNIA.
Oh, shit. There you go.
You know, I'm tired of hearing this. You know, I'm trying to be respectful when I know I got the best president in the UNIA.
I was gonna say that too, Brother John.
Oh my God. Don't do it too much. Look, all right.
I have a
We
quick
been-
question though.
Yes, ma'am.
This is for Brother Art.
Yes.
Brother, or for you, Brother Art, I thought you were a member of Division 421.
I am.
You are.
Yeah.
Okay, you sent some money to Division 401 and you put down dues. You have confused us.
Nah, that was a mistake.
Okay.
I got a message back that Division 401 didn't accept the money.
That I don't know. They accepted something you said.
I mean, Brother Art, if you want to get at the Division 401
As a donation.
as a donation, 401 would truly accept it.
Correct.
No, I don't know if I'm following protocol or not. I think 401 president has to talk to 421 president and see if we can take that money, brother.
Well, we can.
No, I'm just
you can
joking. I'm
donate.
just joking. Yeah,
You can
I'm just
donate
joking.
to any division, and he did send some where he said it was a donation, but then on something he said it was dues, and I was telling them he's already a member of a division. You can't take that. So, all right. Well, thank you for clearing that up.
Okay, that was, I don't know what happened. They, because they sent me things saying that they didn't take the money. So
Okay.
Well, I understand. I understand. I totally understand. 401, 421.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an easy mistake to make if it was a mistake. But you said it was, so it's an easy mistake to make, But 401, that's a good division too. So,
Brother Art, if you don't mind, how much was it? If you don't mind, if you do, then you can tell me later. Brother Art. Brother Art, you
I
on
think
mute.
I think it was like $500.
No, we need that back. I can take a percentage. You can take your little $10. But no.
Yeah.
How much was it, seriously?
I think it was $10 or something like that.
Hey, yeah, you good. Marua, don't worry about it. Brother Art, I'll take care of you for $10 of dues payment. Don't worry, it's gonna be too much hassle trying to move it around.
Okay.
Yeah, if not,
But-
we'll be there at AGC, but yeah.
Okay, yeah,
We're straightening out, brother John.
all right, sounds good.
Okay,
Right.
Brother John, you and I do need to meet. Thank you for sending me the lodging, but I also need the address of the venue because people want to choose lodging this usually close to the venue.
Okay.
So, and see what else is going on so I can get my newsletter out.
All right, I'll reply to you on the same email thread to give you the location of the facility, or where we'll be.
All right.
What's that date again, Brother John, before we roll?
April
It's the-
13th through the 15th.
13th to 15th.
I'll give them the exact.
Okay.
Maybe sometimes some people trip. All right, y'all. It
All
is
right, thank you.
10 o'clock.
All right.
Baba James, would you close us out, please, with the motto?
Please repeat after me. Hands in the air, flag fish. One God,
One God,
One God,
God,
one aim,
one
one
aim,
name,
one destiny.
one
one
destiny.
destiny.
Africa,
Africa,
for the
Africa,
African,
for
For
the
the
African,
Africans.
those at home,
those at home,
Those
those at home,
and those
Those
abroad.
those abroad.
Those abroad.
Race first, family.
Raise
Great
First,
person.
family.
First.
Peace and love, family.
Race first.
and good
It's
night.
first.
All right, Africans.
All right.
Peace, family.
Peace.
Shutting it down.